I recently purchased some 14C28N, and I haven't had a chance to really do any testing with it yet. And anytime I get a new steel, I always like to test it and beat the hell out of it and stuff. So I'm going to make two knives. I'm going to do stock removal. I'm going to make one out of 26C3, which is known as not being as tough, high as a toughness, and out of 14C28N. I'm going to make them identical, same thickness, very thin stock.
Right here, I'm just measuring them so you know that there's no cheating involved. Each one is a identical thickness. The 26C3 might be a little bit thicker, but I mean, it's like 1/100th of a millimeter. Here I'm just laying them on top of each other so you can also see that this test will be as fair as possible, at least as possible as I can do it in my garage.
All right, anybody can make a knife that can cut through a nail. I even did it with a butter knife. Damage.
Okay, folks, 0 edge damage.
Oh, you should see this heat treat I just did. So, you want to have a challenge, you got to make it out of some thin stock. And that's what we're doing. Without like Larry Thomas's setup where he's like breaking them with some machine accurately every time. To actually go outside, pound on some hard wood. If you have the right geometry on it, it's not really a challenge. You know, the knife won't break. But you know, if you want to know how tough something truly is, well, then you got to have a very thin geometry. You got to have a very thin knife. And now there's no hiding it. There's no cheating. We're going to find out how tough it is.
Okay, so I did 1490 as my temperature, and here I'm getting it in the oil as quick as possible. This is like a 10x steel. You gotta quench it fast. Within a second, I have to drop 1,000 degrees.
I'm gonna fast forward through this because here's where I dropped my fucking knife right in the oil. I'm trying to dig it out.
After I'm done quenching and letting it cool in the oil fairly good, I let it finish cooling in the aluminum plates just to keep it straight. Kind of helps, I think.
I'm gonna do the stainless here at 1920. Because I'm not gonna cryo treat it, I have to do it at a lower temperature. If I was gonna cryo treat it, I would do 1975. Just like AEBL. And I should get around 60 HRC.
On the 26C3, I'm going to do a 450 temper. On the 14C28N, I'm going to do a 345 degree temper. This next chart is going to show toughness. This is right off of Knife Steel Nerds. You can see right at the bottom is 26C3, and right over here at the top is 14C28N.
In the home freezer for 4 hours.
I'll do a snap temper with both of them together, and then I'll temper them the second time separately.
Here's Creeley Blades. Sent Joe X a knife to try to destroy, and with the thick geometry and the steel they used, which is 8670, Creeley Blades basically made an indestructible knife here, and that's what I'm talking about. Would 1095 do that good with the same geometry? No, but it still would be tough to break. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're at a farm or something and you want a blade you don't have to worry about because you're swinging it and possibly hitting rocks and, you know, it's in a real rough environment, these types of geometry blades do have a place. They really do. But if you were going to get one of these style of knives, I would get one from Creeley Blades instead of some commercial kind of like the BK2 or something where it's too soft. Here I am testing some 8670. I've tested a lot of different types of steels and hardcore toughness tests like this. And you know what? They all do good when it's a real obtuse angle, thick geometry. You know, even a nail can be chopped in half with a butter knife. Well, it's gone down quite a bit. No edge damage. Okay, let's get this party started. I'm going to grind both these knives and I'm going to grind them down to actual 0. I usually don't do it this way, but I'm gonna take it till it gets a burr and then take it to the other side. Here I'm etching 14C28N, and it actually took an etch. 26C3, of course, came out very dark. Just want to do a little corrosion test to both of them. I'm surprised that 14C28N took an etch, but it did. Here I'm sharpening it on a 500 and a 4000 and a 16,000 Shapton glass stone. I want to get a good polished edge.
for this testing.
They both came out real sharp. Here's from Northwest Knife Guy. He gave me this strop, and man, does it take it to the whole new level. Look at that, just freestanding paper towel test. Both of them just sliced right through it, no problem. A lot of it has to do with the thin geometry too, but that being a polished edge on top of it.
I probably sharpened both of them to around 15 degrees.
Tried to get both the HRC around 60. Make it the same. Just put a little paracord wrap on it. Put black on the 26C3. Oh, we had a chip. This was a toughness test of a brass rod. Brass rod test is actually a pretty good toughness test. It's how much can the edge take before it chips, or does it take a roll? And 14C28N handled it like a champ.
There actually is a lot of flex here. I just can't get the light to hit it right. I don't know how they do it.
Okay, here I'm going to do some edge stability testing, which is kind of, it's kind of a strength test more than a toughness test. But this is the famous ironwood I always use on every knife. And I've got gloves on so I can really crank down on it. With it grinded to 0 and sharpened at 15 degrees, it's holding up real well, both of them. I thought the 26C3 would do better in this test, but they both did about the same. I was impressed with both here, edge stability wise. None of them dulled, no chips, no rolls, nothing. And I was cranking on them. So I figured I might step it up and grab some deer antler next and see if I can get them to get snagging on the paper from the deer antler. Just really goes to show you that a thinner knife that has the right geometry on it, sharpened properly for the proper task, can perform very well.
All right, you accidentally drop your knife on the tip on the concrete. Boom. It can happen. So this is another test that these knives will be used for. The 26C3 took a minor chip on the tip, so the pointiness of it's gone. So here we go with the 14C28N, and it took a minor roll. Neither one of them had that real sharp needle-like tip anymore, but they're both still functional tips. They just behaved different. What makes 14C28N more tough is it's more malleable. But they're both holding up real good. I mean, would you even notice a difference?
I don't know. Here's up in the ante on the edge stability testing. I wanted to see if I could get a snag on the paper. Other knives I've been able to get a snag on the paper. I just didn't have them grinded this thin, so maybe the thin geometry is helping here with the edge stability wise. And I think with the 26C3, if it was a higher hardness, it would even improve the edge stability strength even more. But both of them did good. Even cranking on this deer antler. Here I go on the 14C28N. It's the orange handle, and the 26C3 is the black handle. And I'm pushing on them, man. I'm trying to get something, some deformation, something. But nope, they just keep going to work. Boom, just cuts right through it like paper. So they're both doing real well in this toughness test. You don't have to make a chisel with an edge to have a tough knife. Here I'm going to take it outside and I'm just going to start beating the hell out of it.
This is stuff you would probably do with a knife. I mean, this isn't, absurd testing. I'm not stabbing a car or nothing yet. Here's some tip testing. Sometimes you get it stuck. You get, this could be everyday use. People use their knives for too. I don't know, we don't all just slice tomatoes.
Okay, here's the scenario. You want to start hiking, you want to start bushcrafting. You're like, oh, which one do I get? Well, you're going to go out there and you're going to get that 1/4-inch thick bushcraft knife that can baton through wood, right? Because thin knives can't do it. Wrong. Look, beating on the tip of 26C3, super thin, and it's holding up just fine. And this is oak, by the way. You can see the grain of the oak. Beaten on the tip of the 14C28N, thin as a kitchen knife. And these cut very well. You can't get a 1/4-inch thick knife this size that's gonna cut with a crap.
So here I'm just going to continue beating the living shit out of this wood here with a 4-pound sledgehammer. And the wood's just dicing right through it.
If you ever get your knife stuck in a piece of wood like this, you just, where you ain't got nothing to really hit, you flip the thing upside down, and then you hit the wood, not the handle of the knife, and eventually it will break in half.
At this point, I'm starting to wonder if I'm even going to get these knives to fail. So I start doing some wacky stuff, kind of just beating them on the side, beating them at an angle, throwing them on the ground, you know, getting a little bit more violent with it.
Yeah, but this is a very thin geometry. You can see this tip. You know, just there's hardly nothing to hit right now. The knife is bending as it's going through the wood. You can see how bent it is right now. So when you get it stuck like this, watch this. You just flip it upside down. All right. Then put the tip on another block of wood and hit the back of the wood and right through it. Okay. So these knives are holding up. They're not showing any signs of failing. The edge is still perfect after just beating the living crap out of them. So now I'm going to do some tests you shouldn't do. And don't get me wrong, every knife and every steel has its limits. And beating on a brick, point blank, on the corner of a brick is one of them for a thin knife. Now here's where your 1/4 inch thick blade with a 30-degree obtuse angle would probably not chip out. It would probably pound through the brick and it wouldn't chip. All right, so if you're going to do stuff like this, get those indestructible blades. If not, just get a normal bushcraft knife with a nice geometry. Blam! And busted it right in half. So it did bust in half, but it chipped the hell out of the blades too. So they got some pretty good sized chips now. So now that the brick chipped out the edge, I'm going to see if I can't bust off the tip just by smashing it into the brick. And, you know, both of them are holding up pretty well to this test for some reason. They still both have a tip. One has a minor roll, one has a minor chip, but they never did get worse.
So I did the measuring behind the edge after the testing, just so you know that I tested them at that thinness. You can see it, you know, the chips are still on it. I didn't repair them. So, yep, they're both very, very thin.
Okay, well, that concludes the testing. This is the stainless 14C 28N, and here is the 26C3. They have about equal amount of damage. The tip, when I dropped the tip on the concrete, this tip rolled and this tip chipped a little bit. These are thin as hell. I mean, they're really thin to be beating on that. This is at the top of the spectrum as far as toughness. This is at the bottom. So, what was the point of all this testing? Well, shows that there's too much emphasis on toughness. A lot of these companies dial too thick of a geometry and it's too soft. And the reason they do that is because there's such an emphasis on toughness. And it's like, well, here they are, tough, supposedly not tough. I know edge stability is something totally different. A lot of the tests I did at first was edge stability, and they both did about equal. You know, I beat the hell out of it with a sledgehammer, and it's thin as a kitchen knife. The naked eye out there beating on wood and hitting things and using your knife, and if you use it the right way, man, you can't hardly tell the difference between these. I can't. They perform the same, and unless you have a machine or you're some type of like Larry Thomas where you can actually get right down to it, good luck in the field. You know, I know field testing is a lot different, but good luck. You know, just get a knife, and if you use it right, use these the way you're not supposed to. And they were holding up just fine till I started hitting the brick. So, all right. Thanks for hanging out with my non-scientific. Oh yeah, it's good to do this type of testing. Simply because, you know, you'll end up taking more chances making knives doing testing than you would making a knife you're going to sell or give to somebody. See, like these, man, I just grinded them as thin as I felt uncomfortable doing. I probably wouldn't do that with, you know, a knife that I was going to give to somebody. So you'll end up taking more chances. You end up learning and growing by testing stuff. You can't let Larry Thomas and all these guys have all the fun. All right. See ya.
I don't wanna talk about doing